Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Paul Weymouth, and thank you for joining me today. First off, I want to talk about what I've been doing with the reading streams. I've been doing a meditation and reading stream at nighttime. I don't know how often I'm going to be doing this, but I'll try to put it at least a day in advance. And I've been having a lot of fun doing these. It's really focusing my time to do the things that I really need to do, which is like reading a good book, relax, and meditate. So if you've missed any of those, just keep an eye out on my channel for the possible next one, and you can join in, and that would be fantastic. Also, tomorrow, January the 20th, I already put this up as like a live stream announcement. I am doing a Martin Luther King Jr. Reading day. It's basically going to be the Pomodoro technique, reading for about 6 hours tomorrow, and that's going to start at 12 p.m. Noon time, and it's going to go and for at least 6 hours. I'm really going to push myself here and see if I end up going further than that. That's great. If not, that's fine too. And I'm going to be picking a black author, Octavia E. Butler, and I'm going to be reading the first book in her Seed to Harvest books, and that is called Wild Seed. So that is what I'm going to be reading tomorrow for Martin Luther King Day. If you're at home and you want to get some reading done, join me with that stream, and we can do some reading sprints and do the Pomodoro technique. Okay, so first let's get into our reviews for this week. The first book that I'm going to review is The Future of Another Timeline by Annalee Newitz. The Future of Another Timeline is a feminist science fiction book about time travel and women's rights. In this alternate history, time travel is very well known, and two groups of people are trying to edit the timeline for their own purposes. The first group is the Daughters of Harriet. They are attempting to edit the timeline to progress women's rights. In their life, in this book, abortion is illegal, and women don't have the freedom that they have in our own world. The other group that is attempting to edit the timeline is called the Comstockers, led by Anthony Comstock. Comstock was an actual person. He was very anti-vice, anti-women, and he's trying to make his message become popular culture. And so far, they are succeeding in basically making their message the number one message. So the Daughters of Harriet are traveling back in time to empower and encourage women in those time periods and try to stop the Comstockers from spreading their propaganda. So our story here follows two women in two different times. Tess is our time traveler. She's attempting to give women more rights by going back to the Chicago World's Fair in the 1890s to empower women to become entertainers that they want to become. She's also traveling to 1993 in an attempt to edit her own personal timeline, which is very dangerous and could lead to her death or worse. The other story, the other timeline, follows a girl named Beth in 1993 who loves female punk rock music. In this world, this extreme punk rock feminist music was really popular. Her and her friends actually end up, though, committing a murder against a man that is trying to hurt them. So in this alternate history world, she doesn't have as many rights, and she's attempting to go against the patriarchy, but she also doesn't want to hurt anybody, and her friends kind of do. I really like this story quite a bit because it showed how important women's rights can be. When one thing is taken away from women, it can create a ripple effect where other freedoms are taken away. As the timeline edits gets better for women throughout the story in 1993 progressively gets better for our main character in that era. I also thought that Annalee Newitz wrote this rather well, and it was a very easy book to get sucked into and get involved in while reading. The female friendships in this book were amazing, so if that's something you're looking for in your science fiction, I would say pick this up. I think this is a great spiritual successor to like The Handmaid's Tale, and I think this is a better book than the Power book that was popular a few years ago. So the time travel aspects in this book were a little murky, and the ramifications of time travel and how it was all explained was a little bit confusing. I definitely enjoyed the story of Beth in 1993 much more than the time traveler story of Tess. I also thought that Tess's time travel story ended in a very weird place. I would have also liked if there was at least one male character in this story that was playing a larger role and was becoming more of an ally for these women, but I understand why it wasn't added. Overall, I thought this was a great book, and I'll continue to read anything that Newitz puts out because I find her books usually very thoughtful or provocative, and they also can have a lasting impact on me. The other book I read this week was Beyond the Shadows by Brent. This is the third book in the Night Angel series, and the last book that's currently written in this series. I think he's going to write more in this series just because on Goodreads it says Night Angel number 3 and it doesn't say Night Angel trilogy. Okay, I've enjoyed each and every one of these fantasy books, and I rate this series rather highly because they were just so much fun. This third book attempted to be much more complex and tried to connect a bunch of different things together and created larger storylines for a larger amount of people. And at times, I was just kind of along for the ride, and I didn't quite get all the explanations and all the connections and all the ideas completely. I think this would be a good series to reread in the future to try to get all those connections. But it was almost like he tried to add 3 books worth of world building into one book. Hey, these books were fun, they're action-packed and imaginative, and I think that most epic fantasy readers would really like this series. But this is definitely bro fantasy. There's a lot of action, there's a lot of misogyny, and there is a lot of objectifying of women. I don't think I've ever read a series that was quite hung up on virginity as much as this series was, and how often the author reminded us of how much these young men lusted after women. As much as The Future of Another Timeline was a feminist book, this was completely the opposite. That isn't to say that the author, Brent Weeks, is like that at all. He's not misogynist, I don't think, at all. But this series is definitely not for everyone. This last book, it tried to get as epic as like Wheel of Time, but it just didn't have enough background and books behind it to build up that hype and that tension. I still really enjoyed it though, and I would definitely recommend it. Alright, so this coming week I'm going to be reading the Octavia E. Butler books. That's in Seed to Harvest. That is Wild Seed, Mind of My Clay. Wow, I cannot speak. Wild Seed, Mind of My Mind, Clay's Arc, and Pattern Master. So those are 4 books in here. Each one of them is like 250 pages, so it's not that bad. And then I would like to make some more headway on the Mythic Dream collection by Dominic Parisian and Nava Wolf. So basically that is what I read this last week and what I'm going to be reading this coming week. Graduate school starts again this coming week, so we'll see how that's really going to impact my reading and how it's going to impact my booktube channel and things of that nature as well. So thanks for watching. I will talk to you all next time. Don't forget to follow me on Goodreads and also visit my website paulweymouth.com. See you all later.